a lot of people that have just started up their business and want to come into online marketing, it's very different to being in person. Or if you haven't marketed your business before, it's a new thing to jump into running ads if you don't know what interests your ideal clients and will hook them in. You don't have the ad budget behind you to take on that many clients. It's not the right way to go.
So joining me on the line today, I've got Jobe Neal from Digital Difference Makers. Welcome to the call, Jobe.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure. Maybe give us a bit of a sort of insight into Digital Difference and Digital Difference Makers, I should say, and what you do.
Yeah, so we're a marketing consultancy and agency hybrid. So we've joined together a lot of the done for you and done with you elements of marketing. Really, we look at how to get coaches, consultants, and course creators, people that are selling their expertise, how to get clients without any paid marketing. So that's really our USP.
Yeah, fantastic. So what sort of differentiates you in the marketplace? Is that your point of difference, or is there a few other elements?
From the people that are focusing on organic marketing and helping people get clients that way, our point of difference is that we come really from the content side. It's less of booking in appointments and trying to convince people on the call, and more trying to nurture people and people reaching out to you, as well as the people that you do book in appointments with. They've seen enough stuff that they're pre-sold.
Yeah, gotcha.
Compared to people that are just doing content, there's a lot of people that are teaching, just post these things and you'll get clients, whereas it's not really the case. There's a few other systems that are in the back end. So it's sort of like a happy medium between the two.
It's interesting because I think marketing has evolved a lot over time, hasn't it? And the pendulum sort of swang from stop pitching and start producing content to produce strategic content. And you can't just pitch at the end, you actually have to have engagement. So what you've just described there is a perfect description of what I'm trying to explain to people as well. I use this trout farm analogy, and I say, look, you get the leads in by identifying the target market, and then you've got to nurture these guys and you've got to grow the fish in the trout farm. I don't know if you've ever been to a trout farm, but if you're no good at fishing, that's where you go because you can't miss.
I haven't, but it sounds like a good place to go if I do want to go fish.
So tell me, what made you go into this business?
Before this, so I was studying marketing at university, and I think I got about halfway through and I went, honestly, couldn't tell you how I'm going to work anywhere or what I actually want to do with this. So I dropped out of university, and a friend of mine and I started an e-commerce business with the intention of knowing that we were probably going to start a fair few. It was a drop shipping model of going to the manufacturers in China. And then we set up all the marketing behind this product that's already created. So and then when we sell it, it goes directly from the manufacturer to the person. So we did that for about 4 years. And all of my marketing was learned from trial and error and losing. I think we broke even on about $80,000 before we actually made any money back. So the benefit of being a little bit younger and not having more expenses. So in that way we could. We got some really good experience. The only reason I didn't stick with that was just because I didn't really enjoy getting up and just, writing ads and creating things for really products I didn't really enjoy. It was teeth whitening kits and products for fishing rods. It was stuff that, and to really succeed, you had to start a brand. So I sold my half of the business to my friend. He's still doing it now. He loves that. But I knew I wanted to work with people. So I started a marketing agency and started working in lead generation with coaches and consultants. But I found that, and it came from the paid marketing background, I just found that a lot of people that have just started up their business and want to come into online marketing, it's very different to being in person. Or if you haven't marketed your business before, it's a new thing to jump into running ads if you don't know what interests your ideal clients and will hook them in. You don't have the ad budget behind you to take on that many clients. It's not the right way to go. So that's why we started moving more into organic And then we switched the agency more into creatives for people and aiding the organic marketing route.
Yeah, right. Brilliant, brilliant. So what do you consider the superpower that you sort of bring to the market?
The superpower, I think, really is that hybrid between the agency and the consultancy, because there's like that nice mix of the people that are in that middle of, I'm starting to get clients, but I'm also working so much that I don't quite have the time to hire and train someone else or build the systems or add any more stuff in. So we're able to do a few of those done for you elements and help them to, now they have the time to be able to build the systems to automate a few things or train someone up. So that's really our difference between.
Yeah, gotcha. But what you're describing is really interesting, because I think, you know, people like to buy from people. And the internet created this disconnect where it was all about the marketing and all about the volumes and all about the pay for the ads. But in the end, it lost its soul. And so going back to communicating through content, not just producing content, but actually using content to build relationships and get engagement, is sort of bringing back the humanity component, which I think you just sort of described quite well. Let me ask you, you've been running this business for a while. What would you consider the best piece of business advice that you've received?
Focus. And I say that because, you know, there is that shiny object syndrome that everyone is aware of. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made early on was trying to create all of these different channels. Like if I create content over here, if I have this podcast, if I optimize my website for SEO, there's all these things working to bring people in. But what happens is all of them are about 20% what they should be. So none of them really work. And you're running all over the spot to try and make them work. And I think not enough people look at trying to, what's one simple lead gen system I can get going to get a really good foundation, and then optimizing that to do more, and then start adding in other things. So that by far, because I think even if you do one thing really badly, if you do it for long enough, you'll start doing it well, unless you're not paying attention. So rather than trying to do too many things and just saying this whole marketing thing doesn't work, focusing on one thing and putting your attention there, I think that serves you in so many ways in business.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, business is a game of distraction, isn't it? When you said bright, shiny object, a lot of people look at opportunities as, or bright, shiny objects as opportunities, but really they're just red herrings. They're just taking your focus away from doing the one thing. So good advice. Tell me, is there any books, podcasts, or authors that inspire you that you're either reading at the moment or read recently?
I consume, and this is probably the god of marketing at the moment for a lot of marketers and everything like that at the moment, but I would say Alex Hormozi. His book $100 million offers is probably the best foundational book that I was on a masterclass a while ago where he came on and talked for another business coach, and we talked about this book in the hands of someone getting started is great. They have everything they really need to like start their business. In the hands of someone that's doing extremely well, some of those small tweaks have made some people an extra $100,000 per month. Like it is fantastic book to read. And I think consuming more of his content, he does a lot of like short and sharp content that's just very articulate. It's not like here's the what, but not the how. He's fantastic resource.
Yeah, read that book, and I love that guy. I think he's pretty brutal, but he's honest, and he's done the yards as well. So there's some track record behind him.
100%.
Yeah, and advice to others. So people, like the economy right now is an interesting sort of stage. What advice are you giving to people who are coming to you for help with their marketing right now?
A different stage. I think there's a lot of different advice for different people. I think the main thing that I'm finding with people is that they want to skip to needing a certain tactic, or, you know, I'm putting out content, but it's just not landing. And I think a lot of people do need to do the first thing that we work on with clients is actually, even if they've done a bit of work on it, is looking at who their ideal client is and what the offer is, and looking at what problems they're actually solving and what outcomes they're actually delivering. I think the problems that people are having with their content, with their sales, can be related back to not having dialed in that stuff more. I'm finding that to be a very common theme, because they're focusing more on features than outcomes.
Yeah.
Even when I think features and benefits is a common thing that we talk about, but I think now people are looking at them as the same thing. What's the actual outcome someone comes away with?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So features, benefits, and outcomes are sort of three different distinctions on the different perspectives on the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good you say that, because I think you're right. I think it's so easy to talk about features, and even if you transition from feature to benefit, it's really an assumed benefit, right? So it's like connecting the dots for a seller of a product, but talking about the outcomes is the results that you get.
Yeah.
Talking about the outcomes is not the results you get, but the results your clients are getting from utilizing that product. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people that have like intangible services, they struggle more so with this. Like,
Yes.
I have the feature is one-to-one coaching. The benefit might be helping people develop more confidence. The outcome that you relate that to is going to be different for a very different type of audience. More confidence for me could mean I get a better conversion on sales calls. That might be the result I'm looking for. Better confidence for a 40-year-old mum with 3 kids and wants to start the business, or even just wants to be able to be more social. Completely different people, all come from the same features and benefits, but not enough people are doing that level deeper.
Yeah. Interesting. Some great advice there. Look, thanks so much for your time today. It's been really useful. And I suppose if people want to reach out, your name's on the screen. So Jobe Neal, Digital Difference Makers. It's nice to sort of get that fresh perspective, because no matter how many times I think people hear that marketing story, features, benefits, they inevitably they slip back to features, right? It's sort of like a magnet, and it sort of drags them back to, well, this is what we sell. You go, I get what you sell, but what are they buying? What are they actually looking to get from what they buy? Is a difficult question. It probably needs to be reviewed, as you just pointed out, for different markets. So different target, different outcome.
I mean, even as a marketer, I get other people to look at my stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And other marketers do the same. And I've reviewed it. I've probably reviewed it fortnightly for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Just so I think that it's a constant practice, and you might start to really land on something good eventually, but I think that's something to always be looked at. So, it's not something you just do once and nail it right away.
No, I think a couple of comments that sort of come to mind is, you are not your market. So as an individual trying to assess the outcome, I'm doing it from the wrong person's eyes. The person that tells the truth is the person that parts with their dollars. So when people say my marketing's not working, my first response to that is, you're not hitting home. Because if you believe your product's so awesome, why aren't people throwing money at you? Because they're not believing what you're believing. So there's a disconnect. And usually it's an articulation thing, isn't it? It's not really about the mechanics. It's about the communication that's going out.
Yeah, 100%. It's a positioning. Like when we look at someone's offer, I'm not looking to change what they actually do.
Yeah.
Just how are we talking about it? How are people getting to it? How are you articulating? Exactly like you said there. That's the important part.
Yeah. Awesome. Jobe, thanks so much for your time. I'm conscious that we're trying to keep these to 10 minutes, so we might wrap it up right there.
Thanks very much for having me on, David. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.